Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Oh, I'm going to say it again. We should have changed the name of the show officially.
Every time. This was the day we should have really done it.
So I actually think that this news that we're about to discuss kind of justifies what I'm going to say. I think we should just call it Countdown to Scream. Take away the number.
Yeah, I think that's better for your workload. And I think it makes sense because we do not know it's going to be called Scream 6. Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. So I just think...
Okay, we have so much to speculate about, but before we start going down that rabbit hole, just so everyone knows why we're here right now, they finally announced it. We're getting another Scream movie. I believe The Hollywood Reporter was the first to release the information, so I'll just lean into their article right now, and I'll tell you that a sixth installment of the Scream franchise has been greenlit with the creative team from the successful 2022 film back in action. So once again, Radio Silence members Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette will direct. James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick are returning to pen the script, and it says production is slated to begin this summer. Even this far removed from my first screening and multiple viewings, I'm just still a little blown away by what we got quality-wise in the latest film. And, I was just sitting here thinking, like, when are they going to announce it already? I thought that they were going to announce it after week 1 to maybe give the week 2 box office receipts a little extra boost.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because it was a really, and also Scream was very much in the consciousness then, in a way that it may have slipped out of the sort of more mainstream consciousness in the last week or two. I don't think it was ever going to have that second week bump enough to maybe reclaim or maintain its throne against the juggernaut that is Spider-Man everywhere. But yeah, I was expecting week 2, although then you had the thought last time we spoke that they were going to wait for the digital release or for it to land on Paramount Plus to get another bit of bonus sort of there. I think they've kind of played it smart though, because the movie's been humming along really quite well at the box office. It hasn't had these dramatic dips that we've seen in some films in sort of during the pandemic. Yeah, there was like a 59% drop off after week 1, but it's sort of maintained a steady going of it. It's been number 2 behind Spider-Man. So now it's coming into a kind of competitive weekend. We've got Moonfall, a movie that you've seen that I haven't seen, but I am dying to see.
I'll be posting a review soon.
Stay tuned. Jackass is coming out, so there's more in the mix. Maybe this was a kind of like, we want to keep Scream in the top 3 move.
It's possible. It's possible. I feel like, I don't know, I'm speaking from more of a selfish perspective right now. I just wanted the news, I don't care if it was strategic or not. I was very ready to hear what was going on and to get that confirmation. And man, now I'm just so excited to speculate and figure out all the we're going to do it all over again, man.
Here we go again. I can't wait. We're going to be analyzing those cast lists, speculating about every name we see.
Well, I mean, we might as well speculate about the first big thing, and it's, when do you think we're going to get this movie? So again, the line from the Hollywood Reporter article is that production is slated to begin this summer. Does that guarantee a 2023 release?
I think it does, if it goes according to plan. So, there's obviously production delays with this thing called a pandemic, and we don't know what's happening there. But let's assume that summer plays out this year like summer played out last year, or even much better, and they go into production. These are not lengthy shoots from my understanding. They're pretty quick, and they're affordable. We saw last time that the Scream 2022 was filmed sort of circa fall 2020, right? And then came out and was ready for release at January this year. So sort of a year's turnaround, a year and change. I think if they're shooting summer this year, we're looking at a fall to winter release for 2023. And they want to capitalize on the heat, right? You don't want to leave it too long.
Oh, exactly. At first, I guess I was a little surprised to hear that they were going to shoot so soon, mainly because I was kind of under the impression, based on the conversations that I've had with the filmmakers, that, I knew they had ideas, but maybe this is just the fact that I have like a weaker screenwriter's brain, where Like, it feels impossible to me to deliver a really good script by the summer. Like, they have like 5 months. I mean, they can do it. I believe in
They
them.
have
They're
five
very
months, and
talented.
I'm not saying anything about their honesty or dishonesty with you, Perry, but maybe they were keep holding their cards a little close to
I
their
know.
chest during
I
that
know.
interview. I think here's the thing: Scream One, Scream Two. How quick was that turnaround, and how good was that movie?
It was so quick. But even all these years later, my brain still can't quite process how they churned out that second movie as quickly as they did. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, but these writers, I mean, upon multiple viewings of this script and also, I mean, of this film, you think about the quality of the script. And also, these writers are, go and look at their IMDb page. Zodiac might be the best serial killer film ever made. And one of the minds behind that is a part
Yes.
of this. I would never have a doubt in what they're able to produce.
Yep. I'm right there with you. Going back to the release date question. So
Mm.
I guess one of the big sub questions within that question is,
Hmm.
should they move the release date from January to October? Because I do think an October 2023 release date sounds very reasonable and very promising, because Halloween Ends has that slot this year.
Yeah.
Maybe they should announce a release date sooner rather than later and carve out that spot for themselves. And I don't know, who knows? Maybe we could have a Scream tradition of getting a new, not necessarily every Halloween, but you know, something like we got with Paranormal Activity or Saw. But and I've been saying this for a while. I know that in the before times, January was considered a dumping ground, but I think it could be a very profitable release zone for a genre movie in particular. And Scream has already proven that it could make a good deal of money during a very difficult time with a January release. So, why shake things up if they found something that works?
100%. I see both of those points of view. I think falling into that Halloween slot is very smart. As you point out, the Halloween trilogy will be over by then. So there will be a wide opening. I think it's kind of a no brainer in that way, but you are right. January is no longer a dumping ground, and look what they've done. If they go the route that we talked about last time, kind of as a joke, but certainly some commenters were into the idea
Mm.
of a Christmas themed Scream movie, which I'm still rooting for, then I can see a
Your
January
mind.
25th release date, which would be a throwback to the original Scream.
I'm all for it. Again, the characters have to be together in the next movie, so some of them go off to college, and the holidays call them back home, or force
Yeah.
them to get together in one different location that isn't Woodsboro. I don't know. That was the other thing that crossed my mind when I was first reading this THR article. Is the opening line is Paramount and Spyglass are headed back to Woodsboro, and I'm like, you
You
don't
don't know
know
that.
that. I know what you mean, but you don't know that.
100% I thought that. I'm like, you need a copy editor with a sharp mind, a Scream fandom. No, I think the best bets are definitely October and January.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, I think they really have proven. I mean, it's this, as you always say, like this concept of the traditional movie calendar is really being blown up, not just during the pandemic, but it was already getting there as things were sort of eking back earlier into the year, and you were seeing particularly genre breakouts in February and January. I forget, was it Get Out was released in March, right?
February.
February, and then
February.
the original A Quiet Place was also quite early in the year, from my memory. Um,
Might
I
have been
could,
an April release soon after
yeah.
South by Southwest. Why do I remember this?
Because this is your life, yeah. Um, so yeah, I think there's the dumping ground concept is largely gone. I'm very excited by the quote that was at the end of that article that they pulled, I believe, from a different interview, possibly one you did, I don't know. But when they sort of commented, the directors commented about what they wanted to do with Scream 6 in a very opaque
Mhm.
way. But I really liked it. And something I want to talk to you about, which, if you want to read the quote.
Yes, I have it
Yeah.
here. So this is from Chad Villella. In order to make it special, you need to subvert things that have been established as the new rules and play outside of those parameters. Let's break the rules now that we have just recreated and just go for it. I think you have to really go there. Break the rules we just recreated.
Yeah, which makes me, it made me think about this
Mm.
idea of sequels to legacy, requel, whatever the Scream was. And when you're doing it without necessarily going in with a full trilogy plan like Halloween or like the Force Awakens, well, well, a plan. But you don't have perhaps the overarching vision, and you've got more freedom because you're essentially kicking off a franchise that isn't constrained by a preconceived notion of where it needs to go. There is a little more, I think the runway in front of them is really quite open in terms of the direction they can go, and I'm quite excited about it. And what I mean by that is I'd love to see them subvert the rules a little bit. I'd love to see them, and I don't mean that in the sort of typical let's meta commentate on ourselves,
Mhm.
but to give us something really surprising, like
Yeah,
something really self-contained and dark. Or, I just think the possibilities of what he's saying really quite excite me.
I do like the idea of self-contained and dark.
Yeah.
Rather, because I know that, not necessarily true of the Scream franchise, but many franchises out there, when you get a winning first installment, but you know what I mean in this case.
Mm,
When you get a winning first installment, the natural next step is usually go bigger and flashier, and
hmm
that's not what I'd like to see in another Scream sequel. And I think they've got great opportunity with keeping it contained and dark and also extremely character focused because
Yes.
if we learned anything from the last film, I mean, spoiler alert, if you're still here with
Oh,
us,
yes.
you've probably seen the movie, but I'm going to say it just in case. But the heart of this franchise going forward is going to be two sisters and two
hmm
sisters who still have a lot of shit between them to work out. So I feel like Dark and Contained leans into exploring that with some serious layers. And it's like almost a necessity at that point.
Yeah, I just think you don't want to go. Yeah, I think keeping the focus tight would be interesting. Also because I think we did have so many characters that were introduced in this new film, and then we're also having to balance with the sort of legacy characters. It was a big film in many ways. It didn't
Yeah.
it didn't feel sort of overly big, but we were stretching to different locations and having to weave many people in. I would love to see something really sort of sharply focused and where there are parameters and where there is a real border on what's happening. It made me sort of think about Halloween Kills, which many people have multiple opinions on, and I thoroughly enjoyed Halloween Kills. I can identify that Halloween Kills has its flaws, but while I was watching it, I was like, if you're going to relegate Laurie Strode to a hospital, I'm just going on a rant here. But if you're going to I've got a point. If you're going to relegate Laurie Strode to a hospital bed, and go back to Real Housewives and Tommy. And those are going to be your focuses. I'm like, just give us a film set between Halloween and Halloween Ends where we reconnect with Laurie, where they're just connecting and we're focused on these characters alone, and we have some sort of like quiet sidebar that's really effective and really contained. Now, I'm not necessarily saying we need to see something like that, but I do think there's something in not trying to be something for everyone.
No, I
Thus
hear you.
endeth my rambling rant.
Yeah, I feel like I shouldn't even touch the Halloween Kills conversation, or we'll be here all day, and I'll be doing another review. Um, I got very hung up when we were talking about the movie going bigger, what going bigger means to Scream compared to other
Mm,
franchises. Because I think for other franchises, or at least the way my brain processes it, it's usually like more money, bigger spectacle, bigger set pieces, more characters. When it comes to Scream, I think one of the things that makes it feel bigger is media coverage of the events. And I think that's a big
mm,
part of the reason why Scream 2022 felt so well contained to me, because that wasn't something that was really introduced just yet. It's like once you add media coverage and also another stab movie being made, I
yeah,
think then all because in order for those things to play into the story, you end up adding an awareness of the world around the killings. And I
yeah,
mean, now that I'm not completely opposed to the idea of them doing that. I just think that, to me, in my, the way that I look at this franchise, by doing that, that is something that will wind up making it bigger and less contained.
Right. I think we saw that progression from 1, 2, 3, right? So it was 2
Bigger,
got a
bigger,
bit
bigger.
bigger in that sense that you explain exactly with the introduction of the Stab movie and the sort of developing mythology around that. And then 3 sort of took it to another level and it all became about the media coverage, etc. You want to
Even
interject, but I was
four,
just
even
go on. Sorry.
even four felt kind of big to me. It's like
Yeah.
something about knowing that Sydney had a national book tour and that the kids weren't just the group of kids, but it was the Stabathon audience. And I know there's a house
Mm.
party in this latest one, but I don't know, the Stabathon audience and the nature of film club, that just felt like a bigger group of people looking in at the killings to me. Maybe that's the better way to describe it. How many people in the world that exists in Scream are aware of the killings at any given moment?
Well, this is why I think, again, my like put Housewives and Tommy off in their own little thing. But I think Scream's version of this is to do, I think you sort of hinted at it in our last conversation. And this would feel fresh, but could also still sustain the DNA of what Scream is something a little more real time in terms of a story play out, something a little more isolated, so
Mhm.
that that outside world doesn't encroach. It would feel contained. You could see elements of it, but the people don't have the ability to necessarily react or go and discuss or go and do interviews or do this kind of thing. If there was something going on where there just wasn't an awareness
Mhm.
externally of what was happening, I think that could be a really exciting approach to this and could be a more sort of vicious, fast paced thing. And I think these directors, having done what they did in Southbound and having done what they did particularly similarly in Ready or Not,
Mhm.
um, could handle a situation like that.
I'm trying to stay so open-minded here. I like Contained in Dark again. But and I think this was brought up on our last episode. I forget who mentioned it, but you know, expanding the rules does add in the stab factor. And if we know
Mm.
anything about Hollywood, especially in how the stab movies were handled within the Scream universe, the second there's a new potential stab adaptation, they're going to make it.
Right.
So
I
I think
mean,
it depends. Like maybe the next question we should answer is when do you think the next Scream movie takes place? Is it going to be a direct continuation along the lines of Halloween Kills, or are we going to see a significant time jump?
it's going to start literally outside the house when she gets in the
I
ambulance.
mean, again, I have full faith in the filmmakers involved in this movie. If that was the decision that they made, I would support them. I still clearly have not shaken off the Halloween Kills of it all, so I don't like that idea. But I mean, anything's possible.
I don't think that will be the approach, to be honest. I think what you could see is commentary on what's actually happened in the real world with a surprisingly successful reboot of the franchise following the Ryan Johnson film. So, Stab 9, 8, I forget which one, which is the one that's fault. Ryan Johnson's Stab is 7, right? Or
The
it's no,
one
it's 8.
the one they don't
Um,
like is 8. Is that the one
yes.
that Ryan directed?
Yeah, I think
Directed?
yes, yes. So we could see that Stab, and probably just called Stab, has revitalized the franchise and been perhaps a surprisingly financially successful proposition. And thus, there might be a rush to capitalize on that sequel and work out what a sequel to a requel looks like, which plays out with the characters and is also mirroring what's happening in this kind of conversation we're having. So I think that for me, if this was going to be Scream playing by the Scream playbook of how it's gone, that might be the sort of the ether that's in the air of what they're thinking.
What you said just makes so much sense, but I feel like there's no way to explore that without making the world feel bigger and having more
Right. No,
people
I don't
in
think that's the thing, right? Unless you do. Oh, here we go. I hope you're listening. Um, and, gosh, I don't like, just call yourselves your name. Radio silence. I hope you're listening. Um, Here's an idea. Our core group are so afraid of the rush to create a sequel to a success and someone trying to emanate that success that they do isolate themselves somewhere. And the world is small because they're trying to get away from the bigness of what could be happening. They're like, there's nothing going to energize a bunch of killers out there like the success of Stab 9, right? The fact that this franchise is back, baby, and now all these psychos are going to be wanting to like get on board. If I was in that situation, if I was Sam Carpenter, I'd be hiding out in a cabin.
I mean, I might be too, but then I think about Chad and Mindy, and
Oh,
I get the sense that Chad might enjoy the spotlight a little bit.
yeah.
And
He's an influencer.
I feel like Mindy would wind up being brought on to the next Stab film as a consultant.
Yes. How do we feel about the possibility of Stab production being a part of this, a la Scream 3, as opposed to Stab being more
You know what I
in the
think is
bloodstream of the film?
You know what I think this is making this conversation particularly difficult is because I love these filmmakers so much and I have so much faith in them that I think that they're able to pull anything off. So I think I want one thing, but then you say something else. I'm like, well, they could probably do that pretty well too. So like, I don't know what the hell I want anymore.
Right. I mean, I don't know what I want, because there's this part of me that sits here and goes, I'm so excited for another dose of what I just got. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I want that my favorite drink is a Negroni, and I want another Negroni. I want it to be. I do want more. You know what I want? I want you to be heavy pour on that gin, please.
Okay.
But then I'm also equally excited by the prospect that we've been talking about earlier. It's just like, go hard, take a swing, subvert our expectations, piss off some people. I think The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie since I don't know.
Force
You can
Awakens.
tell I don't care about Star Wars. But sorry, it's the best Star Wars movie since Empire Strikes Back.
No.
I like that it sort of got under people's skin.
I love Last Jedi. I feel like I'm trying to spin a good web for like the big meaty things that I want to see, and like I feel like are inevitable that they're going to have to work with them. It's the Sam and Tara relationship plus their mother. I think they're going to go that route. Then factor in wherever the Sam and Billy connection is, because there's no way that just poof goes away. That's still in play. In order for the realistic nature of the world and the Hollywood system that the past films have established, we need another Stab film.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, it's the rest of the ensemble. How do you incorporate all the survivors in a story together? That's like a lot of big things. And I do think that they all need to be addressed in some way, shape, or form in this next movie.
And when you say the rest of the ensemble, that is also complicated by legacy and newcomers.
Yes.
And I
think they can get away. Again, I'm sticking with what I said last time. I think they can get away with almost closing the door on the legacy characters, not Chad and Mindy.
No. I think they've set up a situation where they could go either way. I suspect that they will try to have the cake, and they're so successful that I think they can do it, and have the legacy characters return. I think the economics of Hollywood, or just the risk factors of like not doing that, are a little, but I agree, it's a big thread. What I will say about this is that this movie has been announced. It's being shot in summer. Let's not pretend they don't have a plan to do all of these things very well, and that everything they set up was not done without in mind of what was coming next. Mm-hmm. This is part of a plan. In the same way that I said it's not sort of the overarching thing that the Star Wars had to be, or that Halloween was going to be. Like the original trilogy, there must be a treatment. There must be a path that they've sort of at least thought about. And I think these elements are really, really crucial. And I think, well, you're right, they'll have to do all of those things. I think the other thing I liked about the quote is, this is talking about the legacy characters and the should they or shouldn't they question of it all. And this may get me slapped because I am a huge fan of this series, but I do think the expectation or weight to deliver a lot of nods and fan service, and have that be really front of mind, is a little bit lifted now, and you can go forth and be a bit more daring. You've ticked the boxes. You've done Raise Red Hand. You've done the sort of Randy sort of wonderful moment with Mindy mirroring that. You've given us our little pleasures. Now you can go and like cut back a little bit on that to sort of
Okay.
carve your own path forward.
So
I'm not saying
when you
don't do any of it, but I'm like, I think the expectation and the sort of weight that has on a requel is not so much there anymore as you move forward.
So when you say daring, you mean as in carving its own path now and not feeling so
Yes.
tethered to what came before. I like that, and I hope they feel the freedom to do that because they did earn it, but I left off one big piece from my list. Kirby. Do
Kirby!
do they have a consultant that survived a past film?
I I mean, they have they okay,
I
they're
feel
not
like
not putting Kirby. Like,
I
Kirby is in this.
maybe. The fact that they talked to Hayden makes me think that maybe they were planning for the future, but I could also see a world where they more heavily tease her in the next film only to have her have like a significant role in the film that follows. The film that will follow. I'm going to speak it into existence.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely coming back if this franchise remains successful. I mean, I don't know how that fits into anything that I've said about wanting to go darker and leaner and
No. I
untether
love how
yourself from the franchise and go
we're
wild.
literally mirroring traditional film franchise. We started really nice and small, but then we got all these big ideas and it just
Mm,
spiraled out of control.
I know. And Kirby's Ghostface. We don't want that. We do not want that. No, but I think the Kirby of it all is really big. And I think there's no other real survivors that
Oh,
could.
don't forget Joel. Joel.
Joel, the cameraman, yes, but he's too smart.
I
That was
know.
his whole thing. He got out of Dodge. The
He's as
smartest
far
man.
away from these killings as anybody can be.
Mark Kincaid? Who that? I don't know, but you know.
That one I'm not betting on based on the dozen answer I got. I don't think he's been spoken to at all. Here's here's a good question to wrap this up. If you had your pick of one specific thing you want to see in this next movie, no matter what would it be and why?
Oh, this is okay, a really refreshing change of location.
Okay.
I know because I trust everything else, but I'm just like I think we need to progress from Woodsboro.
I like that idea, and I think it's a very reasonable request, and I think you might get what you want. My thing is definitely don't let this be the end of Sam and Billy. I
Mm,
don't necessarily think that's what the end of the 2022 movie is saying, but I can see how that moment with the knife in the end could be like a release in a way. Like she is fully merged with her inner Billy. And I mean, I guess it's impossible to do this without involving Skeet going down the line with what I'm describing, but I don't necessarily need a ton of Skeet the way that they did it in the last film, but I think a really significant part of Sam's journey needs to be, you know, the continued evolution of what it means to be related to him and the fact that, you know, like she clearly has at least some sort of killer tendency in her. Like
yeah,
there's something there, and I feel like exploring that more will make her journey richer going forward. But and this is one of my favorite quality in any film series when they do something in a later installment that challenges me to go back and rethink something I saw before, or it enhances something that came from the film before it. And I'd really like to see whatever they do with those two characters in this next movie do that to this first one. Again, I loved what I got in this one, but I feel like there's just like such a unique opportunity there that I hope they try to tackle.
I think they will. I have a suspicion we may not see the sort of literal embodiment of Billy much more, but I think they have set up an interesting character dynamic that will play out in sort of interesting but maybe more subtle ways moving forward, which I hope. I'm also very open to having Skeet come back, like
So am
and
I.
do a bit more of that.
I can't
Um,
believe I'm saying it's just like I still can't believe I'm saying that when thinking about the idea of on paper, if you had asked me, should I do that in my script? I've been like, no, that sounds
no.
ridiculous. And the more I saw the movie, the better it played, and it's one of my favorite qualities of Sam as a character. Like I love how much richer that makes her and how it ties her to the franchise. I just feel like that was like a really effective out of left field way to pull it
Hmm.
all together, and I'm just like not expecting that at all.
No, I think it was actually low key brilliant, and
Yeah.
I think ultimately what you and I are both hoping for, if we combine our efforts, is Billy Loomis in Hawaii.
I mean, I'm actually picturing it now.
Or
This is
Vermont
becoming
during Christmas.
this is becoming a problem. All right. Any final words on the announcement? Because I mean, at this point, now that we have the announcement, it's like, when are we going to get more details? When are they going to start Catlet? We'll have a lot of
No,
stuff to cover.
we will, but they're not going to give us many more details for a very long time. Right up to release,
I mean,
I mean, they were pretty playing their cards pretty close to their chest this time, and I think that's how it'll go next time as well.
I think it will too, but it's only a matter of time before casting information starts to get out there. It's
That's true.
inevitable. It's inevitable.
If they're shooting in summer, yeah, the next couple of
Yeah.
months, watch this space.
Yep. Pretty much.
I
All
think
right.
that I think we'll see. I think that one of the biggest castings we'll get early is the parent, the mom.
Yes. I want that so badly. I'm so curious. That's not obviously I picked something else for my top choice for the next movie, but that's another thing that I really want to see more of.
Hmm.
All right. This is fun, as it always is. So next time you come back to the show, it will say at the top of the screen, countdown to scream, but
Hmm.
we will never stop saying our outro. Joel, it's an honor.
Perry, it's an honor.
It doesn't work when I have a big stupid grin on my face.